The last question I want to answer today is just something purely for my own interest because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to this stuff. And it's just that what tools am I using for my journaling system? And I love being super intentional and super practical about the tools and items I bring into my life and getting maximum value out of them, which means I'm going to be using them for as long as possible. When it comes to journaling, I have two primary tools. One is the journal notebook itself, and two is the pen that I use. Now, the journal that I use is very basic. It's simply a A4 size lined notebook from Muji. Now, what I really like about this journal is that it's a slight off-white paper. It's actually quite thick stock in that the pages have a decent weight to them, and it's darkly lined across, so in a ruled format, but it also has very faint vertical lines to make a very soft grid pattern. So if I ever needed to sketch anything or make sure anything's very well lined up, I have those references that I can always go back to just to make sure everything stays neat as I need it to. Yeah, so journal is just a simple A4 notebook from Muji, and it cost me $9.50 Canadian. So you don't have to spend a lot to get a good journal. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention actually about this, which is one of the key reasons why I bought it, and I don't know why I forgot about mentioning it, but it's a lay flat journal. And what it means is whenever you open it, no matter which page you open it to, there is no center seam or barely any center seam, which is critical for a left-handed person like myself. So I can write on both sides of the page without that seam getting in the way and obstructing my ability to journal. Lay flat is critical for lefties like myself. Now, the pen, and pens have been something that I've had, I guess, a bit of a qualm with for a very long time, and I've never liked classic ballpoint pens, and I've always suffered from major hand cramps, partly because I'm a lefty. So a few years ago, I actually discovered the world of fountain pens, and a lot of people don't even know what fountain pens are. So I'll give a brief explanation on what a fountain pen is. Now, essentially, a fountain pen is a pen like any other pen, but typically it uses refillable ink cartridges, and it has a metal tip on the end called a nib. The pen I use is the Lamy Safari, and I think it was $24.95 whenever I bought it, which seems like a lot for a single pen. But if you remember, this pen is refillable, so I buy ink. I buy bottles of ink, and I just refill the pen whenever it needs to be refilled, and I can just keep on writing. If you look after these things and you clean them semi-regularly, I think I clean mine maybe like once every few months, it tends to keep running quite well. The reason why I chose a Lamy of all brands of pens is just because I really appreciate the German design behind it. It's very aesthetic in its lines. It's quite minimal looking. It's got a very nice grip, and the fine point, which is the nib size I chose, is actually not as fine as you'd see on a Japanese pen like a Pilot. So overall, it's just a pen I really like. I'll probably share a link to this pen in the show notes. It's on Amazon. You can get it quite easily and quite readily. So in terms of pens, the Lamy Safari is my choice. You can get nicer ones. Fountain pens go up to astronomical prices. I think they go in the thousands even. But yeah, this is just a nice mid-range, even beginner fountain pen that will last a lifetime. So I definitely recommend fountain pens if you're looking for something that you don't have to necessarily press so hard on the page for. It does take some time to get used to writing with liquid ink and the way the ink flows out onto the page. But again, it was pretty easy to learn and get used to. And yeah, I've really never gone back since I started. And this is literally the only pen I use for everything.